Hello, everybody, and welcome back to NDE STE Ireland. And for those who don't know, NDE stands for Near Death Experience, and STE is for Spiritually Transformative Experience. So it's a group for people who have had such experiences and those who are interested in them. And today I'm interviewing Dawn Rafferty, who happens to be my sister. So this is a little strange because I've known her literally all my life. And yeah, welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me.
It's a bit funny, kind of being in sort of a professional situation here. But anyway, here we go. So, how would you like to introduce yourself to the world? The world is listening.
Ooh, the
No
whole
pressure.
um, well, how would I like to introduce myself? I live in Galway, Ireland, and I heal and practice. I do plant spirit medicine and earth medicine, distance healing. My teacher was a traditional shaman, shaman being the word that he wasn't that isn't used in his tradition. He was a Sarakami. But people don't know what that is, so we use the word. I would be using the word shaman if I speak about him. And I hear nature. I did all my life. Well, as a child, I didn't realize it was just the way things were, and I had a very traumatic childhood. And I used to run out to the fields, and that was where I felt safe. And I would absolutely hone in on that world and wipe out everything else that was going on a moment to moment basis. And the world was where I was happy and free, and everything loved me. And I loved everything, the trees, the bushes, the flowers, the land. We had great land. We had some meadows, but we had a lot of rough land as well. And it was very magical.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. That's where I
Mm,
used to go for the nature was my refuge as well. And that's where I used to go. And I know there's 7 years between us, so there were times where you were off working and I was still in school. But I remember as a small child heading out with you and our brother and sisters and going out by myself and didn't realize I was speaking to a tribe, a Native American tribe in spirit, who were in spirit. That I was a member of that tribe in past life. I felt such a connection to them. And yes, the trees and the rocks and those meadows and the winds and the bluebells down at the end, the old quarry, the forest I used to call it. It was alive and still is alive. And I remember even a few years ago, I was back on the land again and looking at some of the old stone walls and thinking, we don't even know who built them. Our ancestors must have built them. And I got really emotional because in those really tough centuries, the land is what kept our ancestors alive.
yeah.
Anyway, but anyway, yeah, tell us more. What did the land teach you?
The land taught me peace and joy and safety. And we had that huge cypress tree where we would climb up, and adults didn't climb trees. So that was a really special refuge. But there were different things. There was um, the little stream that ran past the hen house, and it went down the whole land and ended up as a little waterfall at the end. And it was unstoppable. And I always felt, I'd be trying to dam it, and sometimes there'd be a group of us trying to dam it, and we just laughed at our efforts and gurgled on.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
yeah, I felt myself in that stream. I felt I'm unstoppable too. and I'm small and tiny, but I have a force in me as well, and I could feel that. And beside that stream, there was a rock where I happened to make me make that decision. Can't remember right this moment. It doesn't matter anyway. But I, as I said, I had used dissociative amnesia to forget everything as it was happening. But I knew I had to remember, and so I something in me knew I had to remember. And I used to sit on a rock, and that was my memory store. And I used to say, I knew that the rock was a memory store and that it was holding everything I needed to remember, and I would come back and I would remember everything. And what I actually wanted, I remember, yeah, that was a promise I had made to remember to tell people not to be cruel to children. And that has, in its adult form, turned into a book, which is almost ready to be born into the world. It's just really technical stuff that needs to be done with it now to get it out. So to move on, I left the land of my childhood when I was 17 and went off to the city, and still always loved nature, but forgot about my relationship with the land of my childhood. And then one August bank holiday morning, I woke up home alone with a an absolutely really strong need to go to the Burren in County Clare, Ireland, to commune with the flowers, no less. And I thought that was nuts. I thought sane people do not talk to flowers. Um, but I knew it could change my life forever. So I had this argument between my mind, which was really frightened of going off on my own, and my heart that knew that this was a big deal. And eventually, so I had this argument and I decided, okay, I'll go, but we have to promise we being my mind and my heart, we have to promise that we don't have to get out of the car. If I find a place that I feel is calling me. And so I filled the car with petrol in case I got lost, and grabbed pencils, coloring pencils and paper, and off I went. I went straight to the place. And I will add as well that at this very weekend, I had made a major decision in my life. I had decided that my relationship was over and that it was just a matter of logistics to end it. And this happened immediately. And I was called back to nature. And when I was there that day, I did get out of the car. I didn't go far, but I got down on the ground and I got totally lost. My mind was still alert, my mind was still working, but I got totally absorbed in this tiny little flower. And I drew her and I had a really close look and all this sort of thing. And I remembered as though I had never forgotten my relationship with the land when I was a child, and that the land had kept me alive, it had saved me. So I couldn't wait to get back the next day. And that little flower was eyebright. So that was my first communication with nature as an adult. And I could see that eyebright in my eyes, my childhood memories. So I was going back to the Burren very often after that. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to ask you?
No, just you mightn't remember this, but I remember when I was a teenager and you would come home and we'd go for a walk around where we grew up, and it was in the heart of nature. And I remember us sitting on the wall at the primary school there, and just listening to the birds. And there were thousands of birds, and it was a beautiful scene. And you were saying, I so miss this. I so miss being in nature. And you were saying to me, appreciate this now, because if you go and live in the city, you won't have it. Appreciate it now. And when I was in the city, I always remember that moment or that conversation. But also just to say for others who don't know what the Burren is, okay, technically speaking, it's a fossilized seabed on the west coast of Ireland in County Clare, and it's I don't know how many hundreds of square kilometers. It's huge. Hi, Paul, welcome.
I should
But
know the answer to that off the top of my head, but sorry, that's fun.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, okay, so what happened next? I think your spiritual journey towards being a healer began at that stage. Is that correct?
Yes, I most certainly did. So I started going back to the burn a lot. Um, um, I have it in my mind to tell you, everybody, the story about how simple it is to commune with nature.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's so natural, huh? But it is so natural. You just need to tweak your innocence a little bit and don't try. You try, you're moving into a faraway land from the land of communicating with the world around you. So very shortly after that, um, as a family, we went camping to the burn, which we did a lot anyway. And we always got on very well there, and myself and my husband. So we were on a headland, and we had a fire going on most of the night. It was summer, so it was bright most of the night. And during the dark time, there were loads of sea mayweed around. The sea mayweed are like dog daisies, ox eye daisies, except that they grow by the sea. So they're these big tall daisies. And during the night, while it was dark, and we were sitting there with the glow of the fire, and there were a few of those sea mayweed flowers beside us, and a few there was a little breeze, and a few of them were bobbing and dancing in the breeze, and looking at the fire. And there was one little one that was shy, and if you just looked at her, she just looked shy. She wasn't all bouncy and bobby like the other ones. She was holding back a little bit, and she was kind of more slowly looking, and she intrigued me. And I just felt they were sweet little friends to have at the fire with us. So next morning, got up and I went back to the fire to see my three little friends, and two of them had turned around to the sun, which was in the opposite direction, and they were watching the sunrise. And my shy little friend never turned, and her yellow center had started to decay, and it decayed into a shape of a sad mouth turned upside down like that. And she just looked so sad because she hadn't turned to the sun. And there was nothing I could do about that. And I wondered, then I sat there and I felt as though she was showing me that I'm shy too. I don't think I'm as shy now as I was then, but I was very shy about myself and telling people. I couldn't tell anybody that I talked to flowers, for example. And and I felt that she had sacrificed part of her beauty for me to show me what happens when you don't turn to face the sun and embrace the new dawn and the new day and life and vitality and just go for it. So a week later, we camped, the next following weekend, we camped at the other side of that headland. And in the morning, I walked around to see if I could still find my three little flowers that had been there by the old fire. And there she was. She had turned to face the sun like everybody else. And now her mouth was a big smile. There she was smiling up at me. And I was just so excited. It was just so simple, but I really felt it. And that's what you do when you're communing with nature. You feel it. You feel the breeze is so easy to feel. When I make a request and I'm outdoors, the breeze is constantly talking to me. But she'll just give a little puff to let me know, caress my face to let me know that she's listening and that she's granting my prayer. And there are just so many simple ways. It has to be simple. And that's how you know. But there's an awful lot more to it. I do teach workshops about it,
Okay.
about the simplicity of, with nature as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you just reminded me of an old Maori saying, turn your face to the sun and the shadows will fall behind you. Mhm. Okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want to block you in your story or, I don't know if you want to go on to talk about how you connected with the Huichol people, or is that a step beyond?
No, that's the
Are
next
there any
step,
steps in
really.
between?
No, that will come next, I'd say. Um, when I would go to the burn, I mean, I felt such oneness and such awe and bliss. And when I was there, still, that at the time, it used to break my heart to have to leave. I would literally roll on the ground crying and wailing at having to separate myself from it, even though I had my two fabulous children at home. Once I'd be gone, I'd be fine, but actually having to tear myself away and get in the car and drive away, it was really hard for me at the time because, and I felt very alone. I thought there's nobody else in the world who gets this, who understands what this is like, and I thought, and there's got to be somebody else in the world who knows that nature speaks and that it's aware and wise and so helpful and healing and all this stuff. And I asked the burn to help me find somebody. And the very next day, my friend put a book in my hand, and it was. The burn told me that there was a teacher waiting for me, and that he was a plant medicine teacher. And the next day, my friend put a book in my hand called Plant Spirit Medicine by Elliot Cowan. So I went to the back of the book and I saw that the headquarters of Plant Spirit Medicine were in the Catskill Mountains in Upper New York State, and was an email address, and I got in touch. Very excited, and there was a new Plant Spirit Medicine course starting in Wales just following St. Patrick's Day, actually, which was about 4 months' time. So I was on that, and he was an incredible teacher, absolutely incredible. He died just over 3 years ago. But he was my teacher for over 20 years. And he is a traditional shaman in the Huichol tradition of the Sierra Madre Mountains in Mexico. So I learned plant spirit medicine from him and a lot more because we used to sit around the fire. The class or group first, people would come in and would sit around the fire and teaching fire and would ask them questions, and fire was his boss. So fire would speak through him. Now, there's more to it than that. There's an awful lot of becoming a traditional shaman. First of all, he had it takes 5 or 6 years to get your foot in the door, as he said to me when I asked him once. So it's a grueling apprenticeship with the traditional shaman, and anyone can't decide they want to be a traditional shaman. They have has to be a calling. So he did have a very strong calling, and he did have to have a soul connection with those people, with that lineage. Even though he was born a Jew in America, he had part of his soul belonged to that tradition, which is another story about how that happens. So I learned a lot from him over the years. He was always there to answer questions about our healing practices as well as life and mine and anything you might want to know.
I remember I used to tell people that you were a shamanic healer, and when you realized they were saying that, you told me, stop,
About
don't tell people
yes.
that. So
Yes.
what's the difference between a shaman and what you do?
He was a shamanic healer. He taught me one particular shamanic practice, and that was using working with the plants, wild local plants, um, for their medicine to heal people. So that's what, and every shaman and everybody who learns plant spirit medicine, the way he taught it anyway, and he was the one who brought it to the Western world. It's not like herbalism, where everybody uses the same plant for a particular reason. You build a relationship with the plants, and what a plant will bring into balance for me, for my clients through me, might be completely different to what the same plant will do for any of my colleagues.
Hmm.
So it's a very personal relationship,
Okay.
ongoing and commitment as well.
But why do you not call yourself a shaman? I think I know the answer, but just for the public.
Because because I had a very easy life. All I had to do was go over to England and to Wales and do my course and study and come home and do what I wanted in my spare time. Shaman cannot do that. A traditional shaman. Shamanism is kind of a catch-all phrase that's used nowadays for people that do particular spiritual healing practices. That's that originated with Michael Harner, and he learned about shamanism, what he decided to call shamanism. Shamans are really medicine people of the Evenki people in Siberia, and other traditions have different names besides shaman. So, um, so anyone can call themselves a shaman, really, because there's no one to stop them. But a traditional shaman um, has to be called. They have to find a teacher that's willing to teach them. They have to be willing to put up with this shaman because it's very grueling and a hard ball playing, as was explained to us. Um, And then at the end of 5 or 6 years, they have to do a dangerous initiation. And if that goes well, then are they are a traditional shaman. But if they want to go further, um, they have to spend another 5 years or so as a healer and in service to their community and to display the the lifestyle that's needed for them. They have to put everything, including their wife and children. Um, they have to put their community before everything else. And it is a hard life, and nobody in their right mind would want to be a shaman. It's a calling, and that's what they're being called to do, and they do it, and it is very rewarding. But it's I can see that it was that he had a very rewarding life, but at the same time, it was not easy, and the sacrifices were enormous.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do that transplant medicine. I have a commitment to go to the Burren every week. Oh my God, poor me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't want to, if the wind is howling or the rain is pouring down, I'd like to make up excuses not to go, but I always love it. And I always receive. And it's fabulous to be out in the rain, pelted by the rain. It's just heavenly.
Mhm.
It's just surrender to it.
Living in Galway, I think you've got one as
You'd
much
want to look.
choice. A wild Atlantic way. Um, no, I'm just looking at the little notes I had there, and I think we've kind of gone over everything. Um, so did you go to Mexico?
I did.
Again, I know you did, but do you want to tell
Yeah,
us about that?
I was on a separate spiritual path to do distance healing. We weren't allowed to do distance healing in plant spirit medicine because we were told, and like there's an awful lot of information that could be here all night, so I have to condense some things down. But as I mentioned before, Elliot's boss would speak was fire, the elemental god of fire, because fire speaks. I mean, if the wind is speaking, why wouldn't fire speak? And and the rocks and everything else. And fire is an elemental god in all traditions. In in Ireland, Bridget was our fire goddess.
And what about
Hawaii,
Bealtaine as well? Bealtaine, the fires of Baal, the fires of Baal. I can't remember who Baal was, but
no,
it's to do with summer.
yeah, yeah. That's the summer agricultural feast. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't really got my head around Irish traditions and Irish mythology. I've read a lot. I've read the Laura Gabala. I've ploughed through it. And it's there are so many gods and goddesses and so many interrelationships going on that I I find it hard.
Yeah, me too.
But it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Busy,
very, very complex.
very complex, busy tribe.
But anyway, you were talking about the fire, the god of the element of fire.
Yeah. So and distance healing. Well, I was on a different spiritual path at the same time that I won't talk about. And spiritual healing was part of it.
Mm.
And um, so I was on that path for, I lost count of many years. And and I also had another elder as well, was very important to me, who is still with us, is David Wiley. And and they worked together. they don't work together, but they're both in the Sacred Fire community. And so I was on that path with him as well. Um, so now where am I? Um,
You were
and
talking
just
about going to
Zealand was
Mexico.
involved. So eventually, after I think it must have been about 10 years of practicing patience and more patience and going to the burn religiously and deepening my connection, you know, it just kept going on until I thought I really meant it. I really don't care anymore. If I have to come back again and do this, I am doing this. If I have to die and come back again, this is important and this is what I want. And not what I want so much, but my heart just wants it, and I need to surrender to it. And as soon as that happened, don't you know, I was called to Mexico, and there were three of us called. One was from Australia, one from Canada, and me from Ireland, and we went there, and I won't talk either about what we had to do for that initiation, but it's pretty amazing. I will say when he told us what we had to do, um, David Riley, then he walked away from us and left us to think about it. We just looked at each other and we burst out laughing for about 15 minutes because it was impossible. But, and we'd all spent a lot of money getting there and put a lot of years into getting there. So there was no running away. Um, and the three of us were successful. And that was really, really amazing. There's no words for it, really. And I came home and started practicing distance healing from that time on.
Mhm.
That was December of 2019, and it just took off. I mean, it took off before even 2020 happened. It took off immediately.
Yeah.
It was just waiting to happen.
And you were saying that David and Elliot, they had soul connection to the retail people. I never asked you this before, but do you feel you have soul connection to them also?
No.
Yeah, because I think I've thought about this. Even Almira, who I interviewed a few months ago when I was doing the awakening of the healer within me in her course. We were 3 days into a 4 day awakening, and we were practicing on each other, and things were working. And as I said, how come I can do this after 3 days? My sister spent years training under a shaman, and suddenly I can do this in 3 days. And Almira started giving me a verbal explanation, and I got a message right in here saying your training did not begin 3 days ago.
Yes.
So it's just amazing the different ways we can wake into this, or the different paths we travel, and we are going to the same place.
Yeah. We were actually told years ago, back in when I was in my 20s, in the throes of therapy, um, and our therapist was a very spiritual woman as well, and he introduced us to Brophy, who's not with us anymore as well. And she was very spiritual, but what she told us was that we're doing the work for more than ourselves,
We're doing what?
and that we're doing the work for more than ourselves. All the throes of the healing, just healing, 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 and all this awful stuff coming up. And we were told that people would, and now like you did, that people would find it much easier in the future. They just come up behind us and pass us out. And that we were, whatever way it was put to us, that sounded great that we were doing that work, that it was for more than us.
Hmm.
So we were very happy about that.
Yeah, that's along the lines of the answer Almira gave me as well.
Yeah,
And
all right,
also in my own experience in the spirit world, when I was 20, I was told I would do this, but
all right.
I don't remember details of what I was told, just that it was for others. And in the second level of awakening, I know it's called a course, but it doesn't feel like a course to me. It feels like awakening. And only a few weeks ago, I realized I'd taken on collective karma, not just my own, but some collective karma for humanity as well. And what was the other thing? It's gone out of my head now. It's gone out of my head. Uh, yes, yes. During those 4 days, I felt the connection from the experience I had in spirit world. It's like, yeah, this is what we were telling you about 35 years ago.
Uh,
So, yeah, it all lines with what you're saying. But anyway, enough about me.
I I think it's true too that my experiences, I would not be the healer I am without my experiences.
Mm,
You have to know, you have to really feel like, maybe you don't have to, but for me, um, so many things happen to me. And nobody seems to have. I haven't been in a war. Well, I have, but that was a war that I was in alone. Was um, so many things have happened, and I understand them, and I've overcome them, and I've healed them,
yeah,
I know that this person is healing. I know it. Once they can talk about it, they're healing it.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Brooke Grove, who I haven't much contact with her now, but as many times she said the pain we go through is the medicine.
Who said that?
Brooke Grove,
All right.
near death experiencer, said the pain, the suffering we go through is the medicine. But it's not, it's okay, I can say loads of stuff has happened to me too, but now working in psychotherapy and in mental health and in social work and all the different jobs I've done over the years, people have come to me and they're, oh yeah, I got a taste of what you're going through. I know what it's like, and whatever I can do to help them, it's not just because I read about it in books. So
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I've been through it, and here's how I got through it, and these are options you have as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although that's reminding me of my therapist in the Rape Crisis Centre. As far as I know, she didn't go through anything like we went through. She was still brilliant.
Well, I remember asking her, is it possible for people to get through this, or do we all just end up, addicted and homeless, or eventually dying young because we can't cope with life? And she says, well, I've been through everything you're going through and I got through it. So
All right,
so you can as well.
right.
Yeah.
And that is my whole reason for writing my first book. I've three books written and a bit, and it's a memoir up to 15, first one, and it's not just it's the hardest for the I think for me to talk about it myself. But I know it's not just another book about abuse. It's not. It's different. There's a spirit in this book. There's a sweetness. There's an innocence. There's a child, a beautiful child, and beautiful children, and that's where it's coming from. There's love and connection, and there's survival, and and remaining sweet. And and that my reason for writing it, one of the big reasons, is restoring dignity to the abused, because we don't talk about it.
Mm.
And and we say we're not ashamed, and we say we know we did nothing wrong and all this, but still we don't talk about it.
Mhm.
And and there might be different reasons why we don't, but I want to restore dignity to the abused, and that must say a lot about what I want to restore dignity to myself. I want my voice to be heard. I was very much conditioned to be silent and invisible, and and I have so much in here I want to say, and not about abuse, but about the magic of life and the beauty and the magic of feeling the breeze, listening to you, and the thunder. Um, One day, a few years back, I was in the barn again, and there was thunder, and I didn't know anyone was watching me, and I was playing with the thunder. I have a relationship with the thunder since I was 4 years old as well, and I say very, very, very humbly, the thunder is big. But the thunder does love me and know me. And so this day in the burn, the thunder would do a roll of thunder. And I was completely in my innocence. No idea that there was anybody watching me or anyone around or anything. And I kind of knew there were people over there, but I wasn't as many heed. And I'd feel the energy building up. And I'd throw my arms in the air and I'd say again, and immediately it'd roll, a big roll again. And this happened 5 or 6 times. And then somebody came over to me and said, "How did you do that? Do it again." It was gone.
Oh, that's funny. That's Harry Potter stuff.
But it was the only reason that thunder played with me was the absolute innocence I had in that moment, the absolute childlike, you love me and I love you, and we're having this fun. But the second she asked me it there, I said, "Oh, but it mightn't work." I just my mind came into it.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the end. So
Amazing.
I couldn't even try. But that's what you need to live in the magic of the beauty of and nature is there to help us all the time.
Mhm. Amazing. I was going to say something there. It's gone out of my mind now. Oh, yes, about the voice and speaking about abuse. I think it's so important to be examples and show that for those of us who have to, you know, who feel called to do it, to be able to say it and show the public that it's possible to get through it, show people that it's possible to get through it. And for men as well who were abused as children, that's a whole other aspect. I come across men in my work and they're afraid to say it to anyone because back in the 80s and 90s, and I've still heard Americans say this recently, in recent years, oh, those who were abused go on to abuse. But
Heard that.
science has shown that not to be the case necessarily, although some do. But I've come across so many men in their 70s and 60s, 70s, 80s who stay silent because they don't want to be thought of in that way. And say, why would anyone who goes through that ever want to harm someone else? One guy
Yeah,
I met, he started doing boxing himself so that he could defend himself. Then he became a boxing coach, teaching kids how to box so they could defend themselves if they were ever in that situation. But those who do the right thing and who do the good thing, they don't make the news, you
Yeah.
know? The dramatic and the horrific and the horrible make the news.
And the sensationalism.
Sensational, yes. Yeah. So, though, of course, women need a voice, but those men need a voice too. And I know that because I've been one of them, but
Yeah.
I'm not scared to talk about it now.
Yeah. Thank God for that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think it's a huge thing for men
mm,
because of ignorance.
yeah. Anyway, on that note, um,
As you were saying, you want people to know that you can get over it. I want people to know that you can get over it. It never goes away, but I mean, you're not freaking out of panic attacks, you know. So
yeah,
it's still part of your life, but your life can be fabulous, can be deeply meaningful and balanced and spiritual and fun and
yeah, joyful,
following your dreams and
totally.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
so happy to be here and alive now. Like when I had my experience, I wanted to die. I really did want to die. But I'd been given the message that I would go through everything again if I ended my life. And I said, oh, I'm not going through that again. But in my experience, I was shown, look, this is all the work you can do. This is how you can influence and help humanity. And that was so exciting. And I feel I'm living that now. And so I'm so glad to be here and want to stay as long as I can and do as
yeah,
much
me,
good as I can.
yeah. I wanted to die more than anything. I felt as though the whole universe, that was the only thought I had, that the whole universe supported. And that was before I knew that the universe was actually another name for God. Um, I, I, I did want to die.
Yeah.
And yeah, I knew how I wanted to do it and everything, but I never did, luckily.
Yeah, and I'm glad you didn't do it. So I just wonder if your guys have a message for anyone who's listening,
Hmm.
or tuning in.
Uh, I think they'd like me to read a little bit of something that they've said before, and I'm not really able to get in there
Yeah, okay.
right now, you know. But I have, I like this one. This is something Hawthorne, my guru, my best friend that isn't human, is Hawthorne, who's in full flower at the moment. Oh, Ireland is so fragrant and Hawthorne is flowering. So somebody, I went, this was, oh gosh, luckily I can't remember how long ago. I went crying to Hawthorne and I was saying, look what he did to me. And I knew there was something not quite right about that, but I couldn't get it all. I couldn't get past it. I was just, look what he did to me. And I went and Hawthorne said to me, and did you do anything to yourself? And then gave me this prayer, this teaching. And when the natural world gives me prayers, poems, and teachings, speaks they speak as though they're me speaking. So this is my heart speaking, but it's all that's saying it. So this is what he said. It was August, and he called it an early winter. Stripped bare, which I was. No summer fanfare to hide in. seeds scattered, not alone, winter herself being a good and true companion, spinning no lies at her place by the fire. Lay down to rest, lay down your labour and your armour, lay bare this heart and confess disregard for my whispers and calls, disrespect for the needs I deserved. Embrace your sorrow, come to peace and love me again. Love me more than before, and we'll dream. And that was everything I needed to know.
It's beautiful.
Yes, I had done something to myself. I hadn't said, um, can't say it in public. I hadn't said, I'm out of here thousands of times.
Yeah. Is there any last message you'd like to give before we open the floor to questions?
Any last message I'd like to give? I give a message every single morning on my Substack. Um, I'm terrible with technology, but somehow I've been on Substack for the last about 2.5 weeks or something. I don't know how, but I'm told that nobody else could have done it, and yet there's a heading there that I didn't write about my book. But however it happened, I decided it was God's, and I'm on Substack. So I said, well, this is a great way now to push me into. I have all loads and loads, just little one-liner sayings, 1 or 2 lines, little teachings from nature. So I've started putting them in every morning. So I'll say my very first one that I put up the first morning. Um, what's the start of it? Flowers radiate, nothing else. Everybody loves flowers. That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, sounds like one of those Japanese haikus
Yeah.
or a Zen saying that's full of wisdom. You can contemplate it for
Well,
the rest of
there
your
you
life.
are. All these came from everything that I put in came from nature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So thank you for all that interview. And would anyone like to ask a question? I can't see
Maybe,
any hands raised.
maybe make a little comment and a question if that's okay. Uh, just to say thank you so much, Dawn. That was so beautiful to listen to. Even though I interviewed you and we talk a lot, somehow it just felt like I was hearing it for the very first time. Um, in a different way, in a deeper way. So, and even just what you say about nature, I just thought as I was listening to you yesterday, I was walking by the back of the stadium here, Pure Stadium, and there's these trees. And I often thought, gosh, Dawn can talk to nature. And I was thinking about it. And I just happened to say to the trees, these beautiful little leaves. And I went, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they literally started like they were dancing back to me. So,
They
like you
do,
say,
don't they?
yeah.
Yes.
So I
Or
get the
you.
sense, like what you said, we need to initiate it because and I was in that sort of innocence. I was like literally nearly dancing up and down, and they were dancing back with me. It was just it was the most beautiful, beautiful experience. So thank you for just that gift. I think, to know that we're not alone in all of this, and nature really does want to sort of communicate with us and help us. And I think when your book, I know going out to the world is just going to be it's just time think I've said that to you. I just feel it. It's just time for people to hear it. And as you said, to give dignity to the abused. It's such a beautiful thing to do and such a courageous thing. And I was thinking about courage when I was thinking of you. And the other day, that I don't know why I didn't associate it, but the word courage comes from, the French, the cœur, to live from the heart. And I hadn't really connected that again. And I said, there's no person like you than living from your heart. So just thank you for so courageously sharing your story. And a question I wanted to ask you, a couple, but in terms of, you talked about, the shamanic tradition and the traditional shamanic tradition and initiation and initiations in life. And our lives, I suppose, are very different in this modern world. Do you think initiations are still very important parts of our spiritual path, that we have to go through?
Thank you, Celine. I love that question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think and I feel, I believe that having lost our initiations into different stages of our lives, the teenage stage up to 25 in the Sacred Fire community, they do all the traditional initiations into different stages. And for young people who have never had elders in the first place, who haven't been living in a community the way we did, we are around 800,000 years. For the last about 2,000 years, we've lost our funerary rites and our initiations. So we're not kind of recycling back into our own communities, our souls, and our souls are getting scattered, and which is why Eliot was actually had a wheat-old person, was his soul, but hadn't been born into the wheat-old people, and the lack of initiation to show a young person what they can do in the first place and what they need to do, and to show them to do this transition into adulthood. There are so many adults who are still 8 years old. They really are, and you can't have a proper discussion with them, or you can't get them to take responsibility for themselves. They haven't been initiated, they haven't been guided, and their parents before them haven't, and their grandparents, and we're quite lost. And there are traditional people who know this, but we're not listening to them. And they're willing to talk. A lot of them are willing to talk now, and they're just not being taken seriously because the people start getting political there, couldn't they? The way the world is at the moment. Young people are lost. They're grappling at things, and a lot of them don't have direction, and there's nobody. They don't know who to get to tell them, and so they go and do drugs. The drugs tell them things, but the drugs are tricksters. They don't have a relationship with the drugs they're taking either. I mean, the plant ones, the synthetic ones, they're not even, I don't know what they are, but they're being told that they're being helped, but they're not, and it's a dangerous thing. And that's another big long story. I don't think we have time for now. yes, I think initiations are so important, so
Mm.
important, and we are greatly lacking that they're lacking
You
in
think,
our lives.
are they coming, sorry, are they coming then because we've lost that connection with the elders or those traditions, that they're coming to us in more difficult ways? You know what I mean? Like through illness was probably one for me, or, they're sort of not forced, but they're brought on in different ways because we don't have anyone to. So if we can look at those, I just wonder with some of those challenges in a different way, maybe in our modern world, there's a way we can, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
talk about
definitely.
these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, illness is definitely and I said to Elliot as well at one stage that I felt that what I went through when I was 15 was an initiation, and that was ending the abuse, and he agreed with me. That was an initiation.
Yeah, I was there. I remember that the power from you. At 15 years old, you took complete control. And I was there, whoa, powerful.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember it. Yeah.
Wow. I was a I was a very different person after it.
Mm.
Yeah, I was. Even the way I dressed, everything. I had no money, so I started making clothes. So this is me, colors. Um, yeah, yeah, thanks, Celine. I think that was a really important question.
Yeah, Celine for me as well. Illness has been my teacher as well and has connected me with spirit and with my guides. And like I had meningitis and it was a 2-year recovery. I had brain damage, but my consciousness was perfectly alert and fine, even though I couldn't find simple words to say, oh, your cup is on the kitchen table. I couldn't find the words to say that, but my consciousness was fine.
Mm.
Yeah, but it helped to reawaken me. And then I was at a healing session, my first healing session with Siobhan Brady, and she and another person who was there said, "Oh my God, such strong Native American vibes off me." And I said, "Really? You know about that?" And I started to remember my childhood as they were saying it. And I got on the plinth, and the two of them started singing a song, the same song. I asked, where did they get that from? And they said, my guides were singing through them. But both of them never sung the song before. Both of them sang it in perfect harmony, same words. And one of them, not Siobhan, the other person, is saying, the boy is the boy. And I realized they were talking about me when I was the boy who used to link in with the spirits of my tribe. But I go to see Siobhan now and she can see stuff I can't. And she says, "Oh, your Indian is here with you." They're all great. Um, anyway, I'm sidetracking there. Anyone else got a question? Hey, Delphine. Oh, it's, we'll come to you in a moment, Claudia. I saw Delphine raise her hand. I can't hear you, Delphine. I think you're muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard something.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dawn. I thought it was so inspirational and very, very inspirational for myself, and I find for a lot of people. I relate to a good few things that you are saying. I find I I experienced abuse and disempowerment myself, and I find it so important what you're saying, to talk about it and to be and to stand in your own power, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and to see you how you radiate life, and yeah, it's beautiful to see, and thank you for putting that out there. The other thing is your relationship with nature. Yeah, I find I might end up going to one of your workshops. I find when I'm in nature, I really feel at one with it, and I always found comfort from well, since forever. And it has helped me, still helps me. It's just a companion that yeah. So it's not so many, yeah, not so much a question. Maybe when do you expect your first book to come out, Dawn? Do you have a date? A month?
No, not a month. No, I don't have a date. Not a month. But I this year I'd say. I think it'll be before the
Oh,
year's out. Yeah,
oh, great.
I need
Yeah.
a cover. I have an idea, but how do you make a book cover?
I think
No,
it
I
will be
didn't
a
do.
brightly colored cover. Maybe.
Yes, definitely. It's not going to be a picture of some poor child with a tear-stained face. It'll be something
Oh no,
bright.
no, yeah, no. Thank you very much, Dawn.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. That was beautiful.
Thank you,
See you
Catherine.
soon. Bye, everyone.
Okay, have a good evening. Say hello to everyone from me.
Will do.
Um, Claudia, I think you wanted to come in with a question.
Yes. I have a question for Don. Don, this is a question regarding nature and the duality in nature. Um, Little story, when my daughter was about 3 years old, I took her out. We're leaving somewhere and the sun was shining, and I said, "Oh, look, the sun is out." And she very innocently and very as a matter of fact said, "Oh, yes, she's beautiful." And I thought, she, sun's a she? And I was like, we tend to think the sun's a he, but she in her purity said she. And I thought, okay, we tend to think of nature as female, Mother Nature, the nurturer, the giver, the birther. And I'm wondering, do you know if there are any male aspects of nature? So, like, let's say when I need balance, I need that comfort, strength. How do is nature providing that for us as well? How can I connect to
Well, a few things come to mind. The first one was way back. I asked Hawthorne if he was male or female, and he said, "I'm male with female energy," or else he said, "I'm female with male energy." And immediately afterwards, I couldn't remember, and I thought, well, I'm not going to ask again, but actually, it doesn't matter. So I just always call him a he, but in May when she's flowering, she's she for the month of May. So I see Hawthorne as male the rest of the year. That doesn't mean to say anybody else does. You know, Hawthorne traditionally was always good for the heart, um, the medicine in herbal medicine. Um, and heart is the nurturer. You'd imagine heart is female energy. What was the other thing that came to mind? Like the ocean in ancient Irish tradition, the ocean is male, Monan and Machlir, whereas in the ritual tradition, it's Tate Haribara, and that's female, Grandmother Ocean. So and as far as the sun goes, we call fire grandfather fire because that's what because the person who speaks fire speaks through is a man, David Wiley, and he is a voice for fire. But grandfather fire itself has said that he's neither male nor female. And he says that the son is his little brother or his little sister, so because that's genderless as well. So it seems to me that whatever it feels in your heart, I call the ocean grandmother and one and Maklar, and that's male and female. So that's the feeling I have. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever sings to your heart.
That's beautiful. And could we get that prayer that you did, the Hawthorne prayer? Could maybe you or
An early
Charlie send
winter.
it to us? Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I don't have it actually. That's the first time I heard it.
Yeah, that'd be great to have.
I have a
Thank you.
lot of those too.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Anybody else? Paul or Veronique?
So I have a curiosity question around how you supported each other when you were children, because what I hear is that you seem to be, maybe I missed something, I don't know, but you seem to really be on your own separate ways, which now has completely, joined, if I can put it this way. But and I get that you have a difference of age, but it feels, and I don't know why I'm curious about that, but that's what came in me as I was listening to you guys.
Well, I can answer that one because if you read the book, you'll get a feel for it anyway. But we were not reared to support each other either. But however, we were nice. It was a relationship where, because I was a good few years older than Charlie, and I used to tell him, "You'll be happy when you grow up. Things will get better when you're older. Life is great when you're older." But then on the other hand, I had a conflict with it. It was I wasn't able to mind myself. I wanted to mind him. I really wanted to mind him, and I loved him, and he was so sweet, and his big blue eyes, and he was my little brother, and I loved him. And then I was like, oh, I can't look after myself. Don't be asking me to look after you. That's what it was like as a child, and all sorts of things happened in between, and here we are.
Yeah, no, we have 5 other siblings as well, and we all get on well now. But I remember, Dawn, and you think you remember too, that we clashed a lot when we were younger. And I was, I mean, there were times we got on really well, and then we absolutely clashed and couldn't stand each other. And even in adult life, it took us a while to get there. But when I was recovering from meningitis, and you were so supportive then, and I hadn't always been the kindest person to you either, but you were just so supportive, and I felt that was sorry, I'm getting a lot of messages through on my notifications. I felt that was the beginning of us getting on so much better. And then in a healing session I had with you, I was receiving from you. I got the message that we knew each other in other lifetimes. We weren't brother and sister in other lifetimes, but we were on a sort of soul journey together. Soul brother and soul sister or whatever. I don't know. I don't think I've always been male in other lives either, so I don't know how. And then we're aware of one life in Egypt that we had. I don't think we were related then, but we knew each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very harmonious now.
This is great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Anybody else got a question? Or sorry, Veronique, did that answer your question, or did you want to come in with something else?
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, I just feel your closeness now, and what a journey. I mean, that's all I've got to say, really. It's beautiful to witness.
Yeah.
Thank you, Veronique.
Just make a comment there, which is I just noticed both of you have two lovely yellow wall behind you and a butterfly. I don't know if that
Oh,
was
you do.
coordinated.
Oh, well, yeah.
I just noticed it.
In fact, when I was in Dawn's house, I really loved the yellow on the walls, and I said I want yellow walls too when I get my house.
Mm.
The butterfly behind me is my son painted that when he was 13.
Wow,
And if you see it up close, it's like it jumps off the page.
stunning. And you also have a butterfly as well, Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Metamorphosis. Huh?
Yeah.
and birds.
Beautiful.
Okay. Anyone else? Question? Paul, is there anything you'd like to ask or say? Okay, I guess not. Okay, so tell people how can they get in touch with you if they'd like a healing session,
They can
workshop.
find me on my website. They can email me at dawn@earthlings.ie, and my website is also called earthlings.ie, www.earthlings.
Okay, so we'll put that information in the description on YouTube. Any final things you'd like to say before we finish up?
No, I just hope that this was really helpful to people and find it inspiring. I have to listen back and see what did we actually talk about. And hopefully it was beautiful, and I love what I do. I love my life, and I hope I can be an inspiration to people.
Yeah, actually, I'm reminded of something you said when Celine interviewed you. It was something like, do what makes your heart sing.
What makes your heart sing?
That
Yeah,
stayed with me. I thought,
yeah.
okay, I'll do that.
I got that from Elliot as well, Elliot Cowan.
Mhm. Okay, well, I guess we'll leave it for today. Thanks, Dawn, for joining us, and thank you, everyone else, for your participation and your questions. And everyone out there in YouTube land and Facebook land, please like and comment and subscribe, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.